Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Comic books and books got a little bit bigger this morning. As I was re-upping my research game, we ran into something that's kind of awesome. So we're going to lead off with this. We do not have any follow-ups. We do not have any trailers for comic books and books, but we do have a piece of book news, not just comic books this week, but books as well. Goosebumps is launching another Slappy-centric book. So the series from when I was a kid, I believe that's when it started, was back in the 80s, is still alive and is still kicking, and has definitely, there's been a few hundred books released since I last read a Goosebumps book, but Slappy was always a favorite of mine and is a fan favorite across the board, it would seem. This time, though, Slappy is not going to be the antagonist of this story. He is going to be kind of the protagonist from the sounds of things. R.L. Stine is saying that it is going to be a little bit of a flip around, or a turning on its head of the traditional Slappy story. Slappy, for those that don't know, is the name of the dummy that you think of whenever you think of Goosebumps. First thing that you think of when you think of Goosebumps is probably the gooey logo that they came out with forever ago, that back in the day was very textured on my books. I still have a whole box full of these books. But then the second thing you think of, the first character you probably think of, is Slappy the dummy. Ventriloquist dummy that is really kind of creepy, especially when you are 9. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a different story from R.L. Stine in that it's not going to have Slappy as the villain, but Slappy as the victim. It sounds like. So yeah, sounds like a whole lot of fun. That's what we've got on that. So we're going to move right along to our one comic book announcement. We have a new series being announced, and this is Poison Ivy from DC. She is getting her very own series. It is going to start on June 7th. The writer is going to be Willow Wilson, who we know from Miss Marvel and Vixen. Also, the artist on here is going to be Marcio Takara. Yeah, I think I said that right. Marcio has done Captain Marvel and Detective Comics in the past. Poison Ivy, this is going to be... It's definitely going to be leaning into this new agenda-driven narrative for comic books, but I think it's kind of time that Poison Ivy gets a decent book. Willow Wilson is not a horrible author, so maybe she can prove me wrong and show me that she is a good author for this series. But again, June 7th is when the first book comes out, and it is going to be a monthly book, I believe, going for 6 issues. And now, let's get into suggestions for comic books and books. This suggestion is, go back and do, I'm going to do the obvious, go back and read some Goosebumps, but yeah, that's not the actual suggestion. It's just a lot of fun to go, and they're only like 130 pages, so you can breeze through them in an afternoon. But the actual suggestion for this episode is Deadpool, specifically issues 16 through 18 from a few years ago. This is reaching back a little ways. This is the story arc where Deadpool was trying to join the X-Men, and this is classic. This is not Scott Kelly Deadpool, sadly. That is some of my favorite Deadpool, but this is still classic Deadpool, and honestly, a very good example for why he has the following he has. These 3 issues are very much worth a reread. If you have not read them, then read them for the first time, because this is prime Deadpool, if you will. So yeah, Deadpool issues 16, 17, and 18, back from, I believe, 2002-ish. And that is what we have for suggestions in comic books and books. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.